So very good morning. So we are discussing with unit number 2. Okay, so let us start today's session with encoders. Uh, Last class we have seen encoders with the help of optical, that is with the help of light source. We are able to discuss about encoders. Now with respect to magnetic, inductive and capacitive we will go through. Then next to the encoders we will see what is called LVDT, then RVDT. There is slight change between LVDT and RVDT. Then synchronous, I will tell where the synchronous are used, where is the application of that particular thing. Then comes your accelerometer. Okay, then comes GPS. GPS stands for global position system. Then comes Bluetooth. Bluetooth also here is considered as sensor because you are able to communicate with other. So try to identify it, accept it, and then communicating. So it is also comes under here a type of sensors. Then range sensors. First we will see RF, then we will see ultrasonic, then reflective, then laser. Okay, there are around 4 types of range sensors. So this we have to write it in assignment. So just write about 2 to 3 pages. Okay, so let us go with the magnetic encoder. So in case of magnetic encoder, what will be there is this encoder and all we are using only to find the rotational displacement. So from initial position, is there any rotational displacement? So all these types of encoders are for identifying the rotation which is occurring. So this entire setup will be connected to a person where you want to check whether any rotation is taking place. So you will connect it. Now you have a plastic drum like structure. In this plastic drum like structure, slots are being cut, and in the each slot we are putting a magnetic piece. Okay, so we are putting a magnetic piece in each and every slot. Again, this is a non-contact type, so there is no contact between your rotating person and the sensing person, so there will be a gap. Okay, so here what is happening is in this slots you can see a white line. So in this slots we are placing magnetic material. Okay, on the top I am putting a person who is non-contact type sensor thin film. So in this, based upon this magnetic field, the magnetic field, we all know that there will be a lines of force starting from north pole to south pole. So similarly here magnetic lines flows. The magnetic lines are read by this person and corresponding electrical signal is being generated. So that is what is a magnetic encoder. So it employs a signal detection system. So this is called a signal detection system based on the variation of magnetic flux. See, if this person is moving, let us assume it has moved to 10 degree or like, what will happen is one magnet will move and another magnet will come into picture. So there will be change in flux. So if there is change in flux, then we can conclude that there is some rotation is taking place. So that is what is being done here. Okay, by magnets placed in the rotation in front of the sensor, usually fixed to an encoder shaft. Okay, so I repeat again, this is a drum. So in this drum you are connecting a magnets. Okay, then there are 3 major components in magnetic encoder. One is sensing circuit, a rotating wheel or a ring, a series of magnetic poles around the circumference of the wheel or ring. Okay, so these are the 3 major components which is required. So sensing circuit is something which is going to read your magnetic field. All effect sensors, I think you have come across something called Hall effect sensor. So Hall effect sensor, when you give a magnetic field, an electric current is being generated by this Hall effect sensors. So that is used as a sensing circuit here. So in sensing circuit you will have Hall effect crystals. So Hall effect crystal, when the flux hits in perpendicular to that flux, you will have electric current which has been generated. So that will be red. Okay, as the wheel or ring spin past the magnetic sensor, then the pole causes a predictable response in the sensor based on the strength of the magnetic field. So when this person is rotating, so one magnet will move out and another magnet will come in. So there will be a change in magnetic field and that is been read. Okay, the magnetic tape magnetic response is fed through a signal conditioning, because whatever you say Hall effect sensor output will be very feasible. Directly I cannot use it, so I will give it to signal conditioning, where what we will do is we will remove all unwanted signals, and then we will just amplify the signal which is coming from the magnetic field alone. Okay, the output is a digital signal to the control device. From there I will connect it to any microcontroller or microprocessor for processing this particular signal. I think you have in this semester you have 8085 and 8051, which all are basic microprocessor, which doesn't have any analog input and all. You cannot give analog input. Only in 8051 you have, but that also is not the standard which is now presently. We use PIC microcontrollers, where PIC microcontrollers have inbuilt ADC. So directly if you give analog voltage, it will directly convert it into digital. So that is the advancement in case of controllers and all. Then the number of magnetized pole pair on the wheel pole, the number of sensors, and the type of electric circuits all works together to determine the resolution of the magnetic encoder. So if you want to increase your resolution, you have to increase number of poles, which means the number of magnets you have to increase. Then the sensor quality, so Hall effect sensor what you are using is should be high quality, so that it even identify a small change in magnetic field. And then the remaining part is the control part. That control part you have to take care by putting proper controllers. The key to use magnet as an element to produce signal is that it is unaffected by very demanding environment, including dust. See, last class we have seen with optical encoders. So in case of optical encoder, there is, when you operate the entire setup in a dusty environment, then there is a chance for dust to come and sit in the holes which we told that light will pass. So the transparent portion will become opaque. So due to that, signal will be missed, or I will unable to read. So that is the case in case of optical. So that problem is solved by using magnetic encoders, because here we don't have any direct contact or nothing. So dust or moisture or extreme temperature will not affect my magnetic encoders. Next comes your inductive encoders. Inductive encoders detect a linear displacement or rotation relative to target. This field is manipulated under the encoder when a copper object, nothing change between your first one and second one. The first one, what we told, we keep a magnet. The magnet you will generate field. That field is read by Hall effect sensor, we told. Now what we are doing is we will keep a copper plate. So whatever flux on the top, will try to induce flux on the bottom. So by the terms of mutual inductance, I am able to reproduce the current which is there on that particular field. Okay. So that is what they say. This field is manipulated under the encoder when a copper object enters the electromagnetic field. The receiver coil detect this manipulation and convert the measurement into a movement. Okay, so only that is the difference here. So here you can see the diagram. So instead of placing magnet on the rotor, now we are placing copper bars on the rotor. So rotor is having copper bar, intermediate between the sensing element and the copper I have field. So when copper come in contact, then there will be variation in field. This variation in field is being read, and that is going to denote about your rotation of your person. So this green is a green structure. You assume it to be in circular fashion, and in that circular fashion copper bars are fixed. Okay, there we seen magnet, here we are seeing copper. So whenever this copper come in picture, due to this magnetic field, some will be induced here, and due to this there will be a change, and this change is being recorded. So that is what your inductive type of encoder. An inductive encoder detects a linear displacement or rotation relative to the target. This type of sensor react to the presence of ferromagnetic or electrical conducting metals in the target. So you can keep copper or you can even keep iron, but the iron we cannot again keep it because it will get rusted under dusty environment or when you have moisture environment. That is why we are going for copper. The thing is, it should be a ferromagnetic material, that's all. The encoder contains a transmitting coil which contains 4 receiver coils. The transmitting coil generate electromagnetic field. This field is manipulated under the encoder when a copper object and enters the magnetic field, and the receiver coil detects this, and this is the procedure for inductive encoders. Now third type of, or the final type of encoder which we are going to see is capacitive encoder. You know what is the effect of capacitors. So capacitors plays major role even in our ancient temples. They use this phenomena of capacitance. They try to separate the charge, all that thing they will do. Similarly here, a capacitive encoders work by transmitting an high frequency signal through a rotor that is etched with sinusoidal pattern. This is the mandatory here. This etched means is nothing but, see, you have a disc here. In this disc is going to rotate. Okay, this is person who is called rotor. So this is going to rotate, in which what I am going to do is I will etch some metal piece. Etching is nothing but process of removing and replacing by an other person, that we called etch. So here a capacitive encoder works by transmitting an high frequency signal through a rotor that is etched with sinusoidal pattern. So here you can see there is something metal which is been placed in a sinusoidal in fashion. Now from this end, from transmitting side end, I will send a very high frequency, and at a normal, when it is not rotating, the same will passes to the receiver, whereas when this fellow starts to rotate, the frequency of your transmitter will change, and by that I will try to read. As the rotor moves, the pattern modulates, which means the pattern of your high frequency gets modulated, and this modulated signal is predictable wave. So I will have this structure such that the shape changing will be able to record from me. Receiver reads the modulation, and an onboard electronic translate them into increment of your rotary motion. Okay, the basic principle behind a capacitive encoder is that they detect the change in capacitance using an high frequency reference signal. This is accomplished with 3 main parts. Again, you have a stationary transmitter, a rotor, and a stationary receiver. A capacitive encoder can also provide in a 2-part configuration with the rotor and a combined transmitter receiver. Okay, that can also be done. Instead of having a separate transmitter and receiver, I can have a single transmitter and receiver. The rotor is etched with a sinusoidal pattern, and as it rotates, this pattern modulates the high frequency signal of the transmitter in a predictable way. Okay, so I show this diagram. So here I have a transmitter. Transmitter consists of, I think you all know how high frequency can be generated. So high frequency can be generated with an help of H bridge. You have an H bridge with the 4 switches, and this switches is turned on at very high frequency, so that the outputs will be sinusoidal but with high frequency. Okay, that is being transmitted. So that is being transmitted from here, and it been allowed to pass through a rotor which has an etched type of sinusoidal pattern of metal piece. So the waves will try to deflect, and this deflect is being read by the receiver. Okay, the receiver disc reads the modulation, and on board electronics an appreciable ASCII code. ASCII code, you know, starts from 30, 31, 32, is used by the vendor CPU. Okay, why they go for ASCII is microprocessor you can give this input directly to your microprocessor or microcontroller, so that is why they give it in ASCII code. Translate them into increment of the rotatory motion. The electronics also produce quadrature signals for incremental encoding with the resolution ranges from 48 to 2048 pulse per revolution. This is nothing but your what is the pattern which you are etching. So by the pattern which you are etching, I can increase the number of pulses also, so thereby resolution will increase. See, if one round, one entire 360 degree, if you get 8 pulse, it is, you call it as 8 bit. If you get 16 pulse, you got 16 bit. So what is the difference between whether 8 bit is high resolution or 16 bit is high resolution? Obviously the answer is 16 bit is high resolution, because the same 360, initially you divide this 360 divided by 8, now you divide this 360 by 16 parts. So if the number of parts increases, a small change in rotation can also be identified. So that is why we say resolution increases. Next comes your LVDT. LVDT is linear variable differential transformer. I repeat, linear variable differential transformer. So one thing you are very clear, that is LVDT is a transformer. So when you say it is a transformer, you will have primary and secondary. Based upon the primary and secondary turns, primary voltage will be either stepped up or stepped down. That is what we call it for a transformer. So similar way, your LVDT is also having a transformer. So you can see here you have an AC source and this is the primary winding. Okay, then you have two secondary winding. Now next you have to think is what is linear, then variable. Linear is for small change in primary, there is change in secondary. So this action we are saying that for small change in primary there is change in secondary, so we put linear. Then variable is the secondary output is not fixed, the secondary output is going to change. How this is going to change is, I have a movable core here. Okay, core is here. I think you all know for transformer action you need a person called core. Without core nothing can be done. Okay, so yeah, copper has to be wound on a core. Okay, you might have seen transformer circuit diagram where you will put a box like structure. On one side you will wound primary, on another side you will wound secondary. This both is wound on a core. Without core you don't have transformer effect. Okay, so similarly we here also we use core. And this core is variable, which means I am going to move this core. See, for example, if I move the core this side, what happens is primary and this secondary will come into picture. Similarly, if I move this core this side, this part of the secondary will have induced voltage. I repeat, when the core is at center, then only some part will be excited on the both primary and secondary. The point should be noted down here is, first point, both turns, secondary 1 and secondary 2 should be equal number of turns. You can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again here also you will have 7 turns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So first thing is, for an LVDT you should have equal number of turns. Then second point is, they should be connected in series, which means, see, you start from here, 1, 2, 3 turns is there, you take out from the last turn and give it to this particular secondary. Only thing is, see, when the core move left hand side you will get a positive voltage. When core moves negative, to the secondary side, you get a negative, because see, the entering direction get reversed. Here core enter here, whereas here core has a possibility of entering here, because connection is connected such that, so output voltage will be negative when the core is moving towards secondary side. Now you imagine this core, I have connected a rod. This rod is going to detect my sensor. So when you open a door or when a door is closing, you can identify with the help of placing an LVDT. So put an LVDT in a door. So if someone try to opens the door, then this will try to move inward direction, and inward direction again you can identify. Again when the door is closing, it will move back to the original condition. We can see whether it is totally closed or is there any gap. Okay, so there are so many applications for LVDT. Now let us see a video. Okay, so here like this fellow will move with the help of this spring like structure. So the spring type structure is to make it to come back. Okay, it will come back to the center. So now what we say is, this is one primary, one core and one secondary. So now what we will do is, we want LVDT. So to get LVDT, secondary will be cut into two parts. Okay, so this, now you have center tapped arrangement. So this is secondary 2, this is secondary 1, this is input. Now when this two are connected in series, so this is the structure of LVDT. Now when this core is at the center, your total voltage is 2 plus 2, which is 4, and this will be opposite direction, so it will be 0. Now, so in this condition output voltage is 0 because they are in difference. Now when this core moves upward, one voltage will increase, other voltage will decrease, so you will have an output voltage in one direction. So when it is moving up, you can see it is in positive direction. Okay, when it moves down, the voltage goes to negative direction. Okay, so when this LVDT is moved inward, it will have a positive. When this LVDT is moved outward, it will have negative. Again you can see here voltage, so direction gets changed. Initially it is in top, and now when it moves out, it is in negative direction. So this is what with respect to LVDT. Okay, so LVDT is again for linear motion. Linear motion we are using this type of sensors, so we can calculate what is the amount which this core has entered in as well as it is coming out. Okay, then same LVDT, only a small change. Instead of linear, I am putting rotatory variable differential transformer. So what will be the differences? In the first case, the movement of the bar was in linear direction. Now the movement will be in rotational direction. So rotatory variable differential transformer, or RVDT, is an inductive transducer which converts angular displays to an electric signal. Unlike LVDT, the input of the transducer is differential value of the rotatory value, that is angular rotation, to generate voltage output. So same arrangement. So you can see there is a primary, there is a secondary, and equal number of turns, then connected in series. All that concept is same. Only thing here, the person is going to rotate. So if he rotates, so from this position, if he move up or down, when he moves up, this coils get more energized. When it moves down, this coil get energized. So that is the fashion in which I am going to identify the rotation. Okay, next is synchronous. Synchronous is nothing but, let us assume you have a generator and a motor. Okay, so you take one generator, you take one motor, take the output of this generator and give it to motor. What happens? When the generator, you have to give input. What I am giving, I will call it as prime mover. So when I rotate this generator, what will happen? Generator will produce electricity, and that when you connect it to a motor, that motor rotates. So now here also you are able to do some sensing process. See, instead of making this prime mover, what I will do, I will rotate my generator, so automatically something will generate, and that will be transmitted over a long distance, and the receiving side your motor will rotate. So how much angle I am rotating on my this side, same amount of angle will be rotated on my receiving side. So this setup, you have one generator and motor connected. Okay, from the generator output you connect it to motor. So that is called as synchronous. So here you can see the principle of synchronous are similar to those of electric transformer. A shaft of the receiver rotates with the rotation of a shaft of the transmitter. So when transmitter is nothing but a generator, so generator shaft I am going to rotate. If I rotate, synchronous is used to transmit the mechanical angle variation of the transmitter to a long distance. Then synchronous are classified into two, torque and control. That you left it free, now doesn't matter. So you see here what this fellow is doing. He is trying to rotate, okay, with an help of gear arrangement. He tried to rotate this particular fellow. When this fellow rotates, you know that here you have a magnetic field and you have a rotor. Whenever magnetic lines of force cut by a coil, an EMF will be induced. So that induced EMF they are bringing here, they are amplifying it, and they are transmitting to the far end. So here you can open. So when he rotates here, automatically the signal is transmitted and received here. So number of rotation here the person is doing here, same amount this will try to rotate. Okay, so this is usually done in submarines. So in submarines, out of the submarine there will be a projection where from that interior, he will sit and try to watch what is happening outside, where he has to rotate that top portion and try to see for 360 degree. We cannot put a person on the top of the submarine to sit and rotate. Okay, you know, all know submarines are totally merged inside water. Only a small flap will come out, and that flap will have a option for try to view what is happening outside. So what they will do is they use this method. So under the cabin crew area, this fellow will have like this structure, and you will try to view from here. So from here it will be directly, you will have to top, at the top this structure will be placed, and this above this structure, that a small window like structure to view will be there. So when he rotates here, this will try to rotate, so he can rotate it and see in all directions. So this is called as synchronous. I repeat, you have a person called transmitter, you have a person called receiver. Transmitter is nothing but it is like a generator setup. So in the generator setup, you will have stator and rotor. Rotor will be usually a magnet, stator is a coil. So when magnetic lines of force cut by a coil, an EMF will be induced. So that EMF they are bringing it out, they try to amplify it. This amplified signal is then transmitted. Again you take it in. So what happens is, here it is generator action, here it is motor action. So you will have stator winding and you have rotor. The rotor will get excited, so it will try to move towards based upon the flux which has been generated. So the amount of rotation here will be same here. So this is synchronous. Now let us move on to next topic, which is called GPS. Okay, GPS is global position system. So this was started in US. What they did is they try to send satellite. You all know what is called as geostationary satellite, which means geostationary. On the space, I cannot make anyone to stand at a particular position. So stationary is not possible. Only thing he has to rotate, but the path of rotation is constant. So that is why the name it is given as geostationary. That is not stationary, but it is going to revolve in a particular path. Okay, see here, for example, if you take one satellite, so it is going to revolve in this particular direction. So they are placed at some distance from Earth without leaving our Earth gravity. It doesn't go move out of the gravity. So it will be in, it will be above the gravity level, and this will try to revolve. Okay, so global position system, we call it as, we have launched satellites. So there is 3 segment: user segment, control segment, and space segment. User segment is what is we are going to use the signal from GPS. So GPS will send the signal of longitudinal and latitudinal. So if you are in a forest, a thick forest, you cannot find the route easily. Where what we will do is, we will take an handheld GPS system. This handheld GPS system will show the longitudinal and latitudinal of the position where you are standing. So from there I will try to move, so that I can come out, or I can go in to the place where I can go. So that is where the application of GPS is. So user segment is how you are going to get the information and how you are going to move. That is called user segment. Control segment is, that is there in US, how they are going to control the satellites and all. Space segment is this satellites, how many satellites and what is the position of the satellites and all. Okay, so first was launched in 1978. Okay, first, then it was fully commissioned in 1994. Then satellite was around for 10 years. Then approximately 2000 pounds weight was that particular satellite, and its length is around 17 feet. Okay, then transmit power is only of 50 watts or less. So the power required to transmit from there is only 50 watts. So developed by US, the Department of Defense, as a worldwide navigation resource for military and civil use. So we cannot communicate with satellite. That control is not being given to us. That is being controlled by only US. Okay, but other places I can transmit and receive signals. So I can receive signals from, see now even you can buy one GPS module and keep it at home. It costs around only 3000, so that you can use this GPS module to do so many things. See, you can do survey. See, when you are going to go for a survey of land, measuring of land, you can measure it with the help of GPS module and all. Okay, so when you see today, it has started in 1973 first phase, second phase it was started in 1975, and third phase it was started in 1985, and now totally we have, this is the handheld unit. You will have an antenna, so with that antenna you will try to receive the signal, and this will show your longitudinal and latitudinal. So now it is available for all, so you can get it and use. The accuracy degrade by selection availability until May 2000, then horizontal accuracy till 100 meters. So now this GPS you can see it as Google Map. So when you see Google Map, you can locate anywhere in the world, and now we are able to come as close as 100 meters from the ground level. So initially it was very not that, up to that you can go only 1 kilometer from top, you can come till 1 kilometer to your earth surface. So if you have earth surface, from top I can view from a height of 1 kilometer, but nowadays it has been very accurate that you can come till 100 meters. So just imagine, you can even draw a graph or draw building structure itself from your Google Map, where it will come till 100 meters just above your earth surface. Okay, so space management, initially they started with the 24 satellites. Now there are 32 satellites are there. 32 geostationary satellites are placed. That is why they have put in 24 plus. So constantly they were increasing. Now it is 32. So with the help of this geostationary satellite, the America can read a car which has been driven in Mount Road. Okay, in Mount Road signal, if a car is there, that car number plate can be read from your GPS. Now what happened is, America had a plus as well as negative point. So negative plus point is, they can view the entire world. So entire world can be viewed with the help of this geostationary satellites, that is with the help of GPS. And the drawback is, we can also monitor what that fellow is doing. Okay, that is the reason why now NASA is not sending any rocket to moon, because now we can sit at home and we can identify and say the rocket which you have launched is not even crossed the earth surface, don't lie. So we cannot believe. So that is the negative with that satellites for him itself, because all the countries are now able to monitor what is happening in space. So initially started with 24, but now there is 32. 6 planes with 55-degree inclination. Each plane has 4 to 5 satellites. So at a particular instant, see, if your house, then your house is being pointed by 4 satellites at present condition. So at each and every time, there are 4 satellites will try to watch your house. Not only your house, anywhere in the world. Okay. So broadcasting position, time, info, and on frequency. So with the help of this GPS only, now you are able to see the temperature, time for the entire world, all such thing you can do with this GPS. Okay, then motion and control. So see here, 1 2 3 4 5 places in the world they have kept it, and in this 5 world, all the location as monetary station. Okay, ground antenna is nothing but anything which you want to send as a signal to satellite, you can send. But the thing what you can see yes is, master control station is kept only in US. Okay, so from there only I can do the control. So the remaining portion and all can only get the information, and in some places they have given preference to send the information. So receive and send is available for 3 region, and for receiving alone 5 station, and to control it is only in 1 station which is there in US. Okay, so for construction purpose you can use GPS, for army purpose you can use GPS. Then when you are in forest or any thick area, then you can use this GPS to get the direction and come out of it. Okay, so land, sea and air navigation, surveying and mapping, military applications. Then for remaining like forest or anywhere, if you go you can use it. How the system works is, you have a space segment satellites, 24 satellites. These satellites will send a signal to monitor station. So monitor station will try to monitor it, and you can send again the signal back to satellite with the help of GPS control. Okay, so finally an end person, if he is there, he can only receive the signal. See, he cannot go for any sending back and all. So sending back is not possible. With the help of GPS only you can receive the signal. Sending back and all is not possible for our condition. Only in somewhere you have GPS control station where the data is sent back, but the entire control is with the place where they are placed in US. Okay, instruction, it is used for many application like wireless headset, games control, wireless mouse, wireless keyboards and many more consumer applications. Now let us went into next topic, which is called Bluetooth. Sorry to say, I have not told that. So we are going for Bluetooth. Bluetooth is nothing but, we all know, it is a short range wireless communication. Short range wireless communication that comes under sensor, because I can get the signal which is being transmitted by some other person, so only it is called as sensor. See, you have a center computer, so that computer will send some information. That information is nothing but to your wireless mouse, to wireless keyboard. So at that wireless mouse you get information, so that is kept received by Bluetooth. So there we call it as a Bluetooth as a sensor. Okay, wireless keyboard again, so data will be sent and received. The sending and receiving is done, so that is why we call it as Bluetooth as a sensor. It is a very short range, more maximum of 100 meters only Bluetooth will work. Okay, and there are an organization called IEEE who declare the specifications, what should be the specification to be followed. For Bluetooth it is being declared as 802.15.1, that is the standard which is defined by IEEE. And you all know something called serial communication and parallel communication. In serial communication there will be only one wire for data and one wire for clock. For each and every clock pulse one data will be sent, that is called serial communication. Whereas in parallel all the lines will get simultaneously data. Now we don't have any parallel communication itself, so only place where parallel communication is used is in your motherboard. Okay, in your motherboard alone you use parallel. The disadvantage with the parallel communication is more number of wires required, so cost is high. Whereas in case of serial communication only 2 wires is more than sufficient. So we go everything for serial communication, and your Bluetooth device also works on serial communication. A module which is readily available in market, this is the Bluetooth sensor module. This part is called as antenna, from where it receives the signal and it is been amplified, and it is a 6-pin IC. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 pins are there. So commercial available Bluetooth sensor, we call it as HC05, is a module which is designed for wireless communication. This module can be used in master or slave configuration, but when you call it as sensor we will use only in slave. When you are going to send something, then we will call it as master. Then Bluetooth serial module allow all serial enabled data to communicate with each other using Bluetooth. Okay, so modes, you have two modes, one is data mode, another one is command mode. I think you might have not come to unit number 4 in microprocessor, I think so. So when you come to microprocessor 4th unit, they will talk about peripherals. There are so many peripheral ICs. When you come to that peripheral IC, they will tell what is data mode and command mode. Data mode is nothing but sending data. Command mode is I am sending same data, but this data is being used for controlling the device, not as a data. So that we call it as command mode. I think you will be explained very clear when you go for 4th unit in microprocessor. The 6 pins are, pin number 1 is called key or enable. Any digital IC, you take any digital IC, then you will have a person called EN, which is called as enable. Only this pin is brought to 0, that pin will be enabled, which means then only that Bluetooth module will be activated. So that is the first step. Then VCC is your 5 volt supply. I think now you must know. See, our best example is our human body is the best example for microprocessor or microcontroller. You cannot even imagine how many sensors are there in our human body, because it's unimaginable. See, from the top of your head till to the toe, if I touch at any particular instant, you will able to identify. Then think about how many sensors would be placed from the top to the bottom of your human body. On your surface of your skin, anywhere if I touch, you will able to feel. So think how many sensors are being kept in your skin, so that you can able to sense that something is we are touching on some part. Okay, so that is what the unimaginable of the nature. See, whatever you say, science has just reached not even 10% of the nature. So nature is doing so sort of works. So when you, I think in microprocessor, I think you might have heard something called clock and voltage, clock pulse voltage and all. Okay, this I will tell you more in detail once I complete this PPT. Okay, so now here you have VCC 5 volt and ground is there. Then you have one thing called transmission, another one is called receiving. Then status will tell whether the module is connected or not. So this will be connected to an LED. So whenever it is communicating with microprocessor, this LED will glow, and that is indicating the status that this Bluetooth device has connected with the peripheral. Okay, then comes your range sensors. Range sensors are the device that capture the 3-dimensional structure of the world from the viewpoint of sensor, usually measuring the depth to the nearest surface. So range sensor, these measurements should be at a single point across the scanning plane, and full image with the depth measurement at every point. Okay, so there are different types of range sensors. First one is RF, radio frequency, then comes ultrasonic, then comes reflecting, and then comes laser range sensor. So some introduction is needed here. What is range sensor is? So it is like an lighthouse. What is the purpose of lighthouse? Why you have lighthouse on all seashores, or what this lighthouse is going to indicate? So lighthouse is going to indicate that there is something land, so that it is giving indication to the person who is in the water, sea. Okay, so from the sea itself I can identify that I have reached somewhere near a land, and there is a difference for each and every place with respect to this light source from your station. Okay, there will be 2 light source coming out. The angular difference between the first light and the second light will tell about which is the region or the place. So when hereafter when you go to beach and try to see lighthouse, try to see there will be 2 light source coming out from that. First one light source, then followed by another light source. The angular difference between the 2 light source will tell that it is a Madras port. If that angle will be varied for each and every port, so that with that measuring they will identify we have reached India, in India we have reached Madras, all that thing they will identify. This was the origin for the range sensor. Okay, range sensor, which means you are going to tell about what is the current location. That's all. So your lighthouse will tell that is land area which is there is Madras. Okay, so first let us start with RF. So initially they were done with the lighthouse with the light and all. now we are having radio frequency. So in Madras you will have a structure like this. This will try to send the location in RF medium, that's all, nothing more than that. So the ship in the water will try to receive this radio signal. So getting this radio signal, they will identify that we have reached Chennai. Okay, so radio officers are the post which has been given to them. In, I think you might have seen, you might have heard, in a ship a person will have name called radio officer, who will get this radio signal and try to get the information about what is the place. So in navigation, a radio beacon is an kind of beacon, a device that marks a fixed location, that will send only fixed location and allow the direction finding equipment to find the relative bearing. So from this only it will send the fixed location, it will say what is the location of that particular place alone, that's all. Then the person who is on this sea will find this and try to find out what is the location. So radio, we can't transmit a radio signal that is picked up by a radio direction finding system. Radio direction finding system will be there in the ship, on ship, aircraft or vehicle, to determine the direction. Now even I think you all know our Chennai airport is called as Class A airport. So Class A means this radio signal station will be kept on 3 sides of the airport, around 5 to 10 kilometers away. So any flight which is coming closer to Madras airport, and if that pilot is new, then auto piloting can be put with the help of this radio frequency sent by the air station. So thereafter I think he can take the, and then from the local they will try to land the flight. Okay, so that is with respect to Class A airport. Then ultrasonic, we all know that there is a small change. Radio frequency can be easily disturbed, ultrasonic cannot be disturbed, it is of very high frequency, similar of to 18 kilohertz. So there is a module called HCSR04, so that is an ultrasonic generator. So that will generate the signal and it will transmit and it will receive back. So it will transmit and receive back. The time taken is will be noted, divided by 2 will tell about the distance of the object. Typically a microcontroller is used communication with ultrasound sensor. To begin measuring the distance, the controller send a trigger signal to ultrasonic sensor. Once this trigger signal is obtained, ultrasound sensor will generate very high frequency and try to transmit. Okay, so the duty cycle of triggering signal will be order of 10 microseconds for this particular module. 10 microseconds means very high frequency. 1 by T is F. When triggered, the ultrasound sensor generate 8 acoustic wave burst and indicate in a time counter. It will send and it will start a time counter. So this will travel, hit an object and then come back, and again when it is reaching the ultrasound sensor, the time counter will stop. So you are able to generate the time taken for the person to travel and come back. The output of ultrasound sensor is an eye pulse with the same duration as the time difference between transmitted. So from this graph you can see clearly this is triggering from microcontroller. So once I trigger from microcontroller, this will generate 8 pulse. So at the starting of this 8 pulse, what I am doing is I am starting my counter, and this is transmitted for far end and received back. So sending and receiving, the intermediate time I am getting. With the help of this time, I will tell what is the distance from me, there is any obstruction. So if I am moving in front, what is the distance between me and the next person. So this is used in automobiles, this is used in aircraft, this is used in ship, even this is used in ship to identify the depth of the water. All that thing is being done with the help of this ultrasound sensor. Okay, next comes your laser range sensor. Only difference between the previous one and this is, there first we started with radio frequency, then we started with ultrasonic, now we are using laser. I think you all know what is the advantage of laser. It is monochromatic, that means it does not diverge, it will follow a straight path and come back. So application for here is to measure the distance. So sitting at home at one corner, you can measure the length of your room and width of the room, height of the room and all with this particular fellow. So you will, from same procedure, the operating procedure doesn't change, it is same. So it is similar to your ultrasonic and other thing. You will transmit and receive it back and try to read it. So method for measuring distance by illumination of target with laser light, only that is the difference. And the measuring and the reflection with the sensor, the difference in laser return time and the wavelength can then be used to measure the digital object. And again, one more thing what I can do is, with the help of this laser, this entire unit can be kept on a motor and try to rotate to 360 degree. So you, for each and every degree you can send and receive. So here now you can even draw a 3D diagram of any object. Okay, so distance is nothing but speed of the light into time of the flight divided by 2. So that gives you distance. So this is very fast compared to other two methods. So rapid pulse of laser light at a surface, some about 1500 pulse per second it can send. Sensor is very fast with respect to laser light source. So with this we will try to wind up today's section. So